professor of law at Arizona State University. He has been very involved in Jewish education and has taught courses about the Holocaust for 17 years. He will now present the Phoenix Holocaust Association's annual award for outstanding contributions to Holocaust studies. Dr. Katie.
As a member of the Phoenix Holocaust Survivors Association Executive Board, I have been given the distinct pleasure and honor to present our Shofar Remembrance Award to a good friend of the organization and a historian. Because his work is in history, and he is a historian, I thought a few remarks about the role of history, very few remarks, would be appropriate to demonstrate the wise judgment of the board in giving our good friend and historian this most appropriate acknowledgement. In Majdanek, the extermination camp where this particular historian was shortly to perish, the eminent Warsaw historian Dr. Ignacy Schipper spoke the following words to Alexander Donat, who recorded them, and we can find them now in his very important book, The Holocaust Kingdom. The historian Schipper said, "Everything depends on who transmits our testament to future generations. Everything depends on who writes the history. History is usually written by the victors. What we know about murdered peoples through the years is only what the murderers vaingloriously cared to say about them. Should our murderers be victorious," Dr. Schipper said in the early 40s, "should they write the history of this war, our destruction will be presented as one of the most beautiful pages of world history, and future generations will pay tribute to them as dauntless crusaders. Their every word will be taken for gospel, or they may even wipe out our memory altogether, not even tell of our end, or that we ever existed, as if there had never been a Polish Jewry, or a ghetto in Warsaw, or a Majdanek. Not even a dog will howl for us. But if we write the history of this period of blood and tears, and I firmly believe we will, who will believe us? Who will listen to us? Nobody will want to believe us, because our disaster is the disaster of the entire civilized world. We'll have the thankless task of proving to the reluctant world that we are Abel, the murdered brother." So are the words of the perished Dr. Schipper, who not only left us those words, but other survivors and those that did not survive have left a telling. The determination of a Dr. Schipper to tell the story that no one wishes to believe, and still many do not wish to hear, is realized many times over in Holocaust testimonial literature from those who perished and from those who survived. To tell it all, to tell everything. But how to speak of the unspeakable? For so long it seemed silence was the only moral response. But at the same time, silence was impossible. Nothing can be said. One's voice and heart choke closed, yet everything must be told. But as it is courageous to speak by those that perished and by the survivors in our midst, there remains a double fear that only if you speak to survivors can you appreciate in their desire to speak. the courage of speaking, but the double fear is one of not being understood, and secondly, that there be no listeners. As the prophet Habakkuk contended with the silent God, so too the survivor testimonies face the possibility of an unlistening world. The prophet proclaimed, "How long, O Lord, shall I cry and not be heard?" And so as the infant without a mother, or such a yearning soul without a God, there is the fear that the survivor's voice is spoken in a deaf world. But the biblical injunction seems to work in the lives of the survivors. Tell your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children yet another generation. And so the telling has begun in the last 10 or 15 years. In the inner circle, survivor to survivor, possibly survivors to their children, and even now with the passing of time, the survivors telling their grandchildren. And we are fortunate to know that even in the larger Jewish community, the listening has intensified. But who is listening outside this inner circle? This circle, who will help record the history of their voices? Who will ensure Dr. Schiffer's admonition on the eve of his death that the history will be recorded not by those that murdered? And today, therefore, at this Yom HaShoah, we honor someone who is listening, a friend who knows the danger in forgetting, and knows because of his profession the role of history in recording and transmitting the truth. Today's honoree of the Holocaust Survivors Association Shofar Zakhor Award has played truly a remarkable and committed part in hearing and saving the testimony of many Phoenix area survivors. Professor of History at Northern Arizona University, F. Jeffrey Platt, teaches history, specializes in Renaissance and Reformation history of England. But for over 12 years, he has taught classes on Holocaust history, at times to over 250 students, and only university regulations that wishes to maintain more manageable class size has limited the classes to 100, with many unable to register. Professor Platt also preserves the truth through oral histories and has accumulated many hours of videotapes of survivor testimony, which has begun to be a nucleus of a growing collection of Holocaust memoirs in the Northern Arizona University Library. In a correspondence I recently had with Dr. Platt, he wrote to me, "Much, of course, remains to be done, but I keep plodding along as best I can." We need more such plodders. Inscribed on a plaque at one of the entrances to Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial in Jerusalem, are the words, "Redemption lies in remembering." I would like to add, redemption also lies in listening. And I'd like to call one of our most able listeners of our stories to come forward so I may present him with our award. Dr. Platt. Dr. Platt, our award reads, "The Phoenix Holocaust Survivors Association presents Jeffrey Platt with the Shofar Zakhor for the Holocaust Oral History Program at Northern Arizona University, through which the Holocaust Survivors and Witnesses will speak to each future generation so they may know the truth about the Holocaust and never forget Yom HaShoah 2016 27 Nisan 5750, April 22, 1990, with the closing words, "Awake, O sleepers, from your sleep. O slumberers, arise ye from your slumbers. Examine your deeds, return in repentance, and remember your Creator." Dr. Platt.
Rabbi Burke and Rabbi Plotkin, my good friend Carl Officer, Phyllis Benson, somebody walk in, Senator DeClassini, that's who it is, survivors, ladies and gentlemen. How can I ever thank you for this great honor, for the privilege of sharing this day of remembrance with you as we honor the memory of those 6 million who did not survive World War II. How can I ever express my gratitude to you survivors who have willingly allowed Magda Villager and Carl Officer to record your memoirs for the benefit of future generations, and for you who have been willing to speak of your wartime experiences to the students of Arizona. A sharing of memoirs so frightfully distressing that I wonder that I or any student of this subject have the audacity to invite even one of you to relive those painful years of your life. This major historical event we refer to as the Holocaust has in so many ways come to symbolize the problems and dilemmas of the contemporary world. It represents an age, and as such, is much more than a footnote to the 20th century. It may well be the central historical occurrence of this century. Although unique in its terribleness, it is very much a part of normal human history, an extreme manifestation of consistent and ongoing characteristics of human thought. In studying the Holocaust, we study not only a particular society of the past, but ourselves as well. What other event has taught us so much about the nature of man and the inherent dangers of modern technology and bureaucracy when combined with the triple scourges of racism, war, and totalitarianism? What other event has so dramatically demonstrated that advanced civilizations have a unique capacity for perpetrating evil? That industrial societies filled with universities, museums, art galleries, and symphony orchestras are no guarantee against future genocide. That world religions which claim to teach principles of forgiveness, love of one's fellow man, and the universal fatherhood of God are in general not successfully driving home that message to their people. Above all, the Holocaust has taught us that its perpetrators were not banal or unthinking people who had no real convictions and therefore performed their evil acts as a matter of routine. Instead, it teaches us that these men and women who came from all walks of life performed their jobs with a dedication, determination, and professionalism that indicate that they found real value in what they were doing. To think otherwise strips the Holocaust of its power to instruct us in the lessons that history can and must teach. A university class on the Holocaust often comes as a revelation to many American students who live in a perpetual present, neither caring for the past nor having much interest in the future. Not only does it permit them for the first time to glimpse human nature in extreme situations, but also to grasp the makeup of the totalitarian mind. Suddenly, they begin to understand that the past does offer important lessons that can assist us in encountering the future. That the past is a means of teaching civic virtue, the age-old dream of humane studies. That it can instill a sense of personal responsibility and inspire many to act with greater humanity in the decisions and actions of everyday life. students begin to sense that the only defense against persecution and injustice is citizens prepared with the necessary moral and physical courage to oppose the power of the state and to face the hostility of their neighbors in aiding its intended victims. They begin to understand that under no circumstances do the people of a nation, any nation, so quickly lose their moral sensitivity as when their government by law and example condones injustice and discrimination of any kind. The moral outrage students feel at the world's treatment of European Jews during World War II is not only refreshing, but also seems to indicate that the lessons of history are finally being driven home more firmly than ever before in the classrooms of America. Additionally, the Holocaust as a classroom subject has a surprisingly therapeutic effect on many students. Depressing as the subject is, it often inspires them to higher levels of achievement, to a more reflective approach to the world around them, to a greater sense of responsibility for their own and others' lives. Meeting and hearing survivors who have rebuilt their lives, raised families, made meaningful contributions to society, and continue to have faith in the inherent goodness of mankind is an inspiration to these students. It often strips away their self-defeating attitudes, destroys their rationalizations for lack of success, and helps them recognize that they have an obligation and the necessary resources to make a positive contribution to the lives of others. Those in my classroom who have suffered their own personal tragedies are able through the study of this subject to muster the strength to rebuild their own shattered lives. They realize that they are not alone in their suffering, that eventually suffering comes to everyone. They discover through meeting and listening to you who are survivors that life can come from darkness, that life is stronger than death. The response of you who are survivors to my February 1975 plea at your Arizona Conference of Holocaust Survivors to record your war experiences has been gratifying. The work of Magda Willinger and Carl Offisher in interviewing and filming your memoirs has been a painful labor of love that has, I'm sure, forced them to relive their own terrible experiences to a degree that they would otherwise never have chosen. These many hours of recorded testimony, together with other recordings we have collected at Northern Arizona University, constitute a significant collection of historical documentation that will serve the cause of Holocaust studies, both here in the West, as well as at the Washington, D.C. Holocaust Museum, where copies of those recordings will also be deposited. I hope you will all take the time to thank Magda and Carl for their efforts. You, especially you survivors, who my family and I have come to know and love, have had a profound impact on our lives. You have strengthened our appreciation for life, political and religious freedom, and family ties more than ever before. We will forever be in your debt. I hope in some small way to repay you for the goodness to me by pledging that I will continue the challenging task of taking the messages of the Holocaust to the young adults of this country, so that in a day when you are no longer here to tell your stories, your recorded messages will continue to bear witness, not only of the past, but also of the dangers inherent in our future. Only in this way can the promises of tomorrow be realized. I thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Platt. Harry Adler is much involved with the Phoenix Holocaust Association. He is married to Ella, who is a Holocaust survivor. Harry was born